creative activism. Is the title somewhere? No, not yet. No problem. We're going to just switch, and we get our agenda. Agenda sounds very serious, like this is a scientific presentation. It's not. First of all, one thing that I want to ask, but I think here it's almost pointless, because I cannot imagine that we have a lot of non-vegans around us in these conditions. But I'm still going to ask: are there any mixed diet eaters among us? Don't worry, we're not going to hurt you. We're not going to attack you. I'm not going to attack you. I'm going to. Okay, there's a mixed diet eater there. There's one. Okay, awesome. You guys got to know that this is usually when I speak, it's and most of my work is really just for you. So the vegans can go home now. No, that's of course just a joke. But yeah, most of my work is really targeted for those who still have doubts. And my idea is really that usually I just speak about my own experiences, because I used to be somebody who had a lot of doubts. As many of you might know, I'm a strongman. Fuck the agenda. So, woo! Let's just go to the first slide. So, because I've been hearing that they're gonna just pull me from the stage if I talk too long, and I always talk too long. So let's just be quick. So yeah, I'm Patrik, and I do strange things, as you can see. So this is the Berlin premiere of a documentary called The Game Changers. I don't know if any of you watched. Yeah, awesome. So this was in 2019, before the apocalypse, obviously. Yeah, this is just a bunch of James Wilkes is up there, the producer of the documentary. We have Dotsie Bouch, who is in the documentary. The guy on the right is somebody from Berlinale, from the film festival. Who cares? And Louis C. Hoyos, who directed the documentary, is also on there. And as you can see, I'm a very uplifting person. So that's just that. I also do other strange things. Slide says stranger things. I don't know what that joke means. But yeah, so the sport that I do is called Strongman. I guess most of you probably know what it is, right? So I'm not going to explain that. It's basically a strength sport where the idea is to bring all the strength athletes together and see who is really the strongest of them all. I won that thing once or twice. Yeah, thank you so much. I am really grateful, and I love your appreciation. But if you're gonna do this all the time, we're not gonna have enough time to get through this ride. So, thank you so much for the love, though. Yes, I'm doing this thing, and I wanted. Yeah, I know. I should have just shut up. I won in the lightweight category at the German Nationals twice. That was when I was still a vegetarian, so I won it in 2007 and 2009. I was still vegetarian there. Then I won it in the heavyweight category in 2011. So that made me basically the strongest man of Germany. Like that is the official title. I didn't make that up. I promise. So because I was a vegetarian back in the day, and I won that title, it was kind of an unheard of thing. So I got a lot of attention from mainstream media, all the big newspapers and so on. And when I went vegetarian, I did it really for ethical reasons. And I knew at the time when I won the title that being vegetarian doesn't really cut it. When if you do it to reduce animal suffering, if you look at how dairy is produced, you look at how eggs are produced, being vegetarian is not really doing the job. So it's not really the answer to the question of how can I reduce my footprint when it comes to causing animal suffering. And that was really what I was trying to do. Now I didn't go vegan before because I just thought it's not possible. That's why I say I'm always glad to have the doubters really listen, because I was one of you. So I didn't think it's possible. And obviously I was wrong because it's 12 years ago now, and I did it at some point. And the reason for that, the rationale was really that I won this title, I got a lot of attention. I wasn't an activist before, I was just vegetarian because I thought it was the right thing to do. But then I realized, because of all the media circus and all that stuff, that I was getting feedback from younger guys telling me that I actually changed basically the way that they felt like they had some kind of permission because I was in TV, the strongest guy in the country, talking about being compassionate with animals. And they were really, before I existed basically, they were really afraid of talking about stuff like that because they didn't want to come across in front of their peers to be soft, to be basically like too compassionate or whatever that means. And of course, this is 12 years ago, right? So we made a little bit of progress there in the meantime. But back then I felt like I was in a very powerful position to kind of open up people's minds and also just really be kind of a figurehead in this what I felt was a cultural movement, almost like a cultural switch from, you know, even when it comes to the concept of what it means to be a guy, like what does it mean to be a quotation marks real man, or you know, that was kind of the question. So I felt like that was a very powerful position to kind of try to influence people in a positive way, and that was really what drove me to, you know, wanting to be a better role model, and that's when I went vegan. And as I said, I was really doubting it. I didn't really think it would work, but then I was surprised because it really, you know, this picture was taken after going vegan, and then after I did it, I set 3 different world records in different disciplines in Strongman in the heavyweight category, so I was doing quite well. So that's just to get the Strongman part out of the way. Now, when it came to Strongman, I also have to say that after going vegan, before doing it, I really saw myself as an athlete. After going vegan, that really stopped, and I was more seeing myself as a activist. And I was really just using, thank you. So I was just really using basically my platform as an athlete as a vehicle to do activism. And so it became less and less important to me what titles I would win or how well I was doing as an athlete, and it became more and more important to me how to basically spawn a narrative around what I was doing, so that I could, you know, that influence that I was trying to have on people, to make that in the most effective way I could. And that has really remained until today, because I don't know how many of you know what I'm currently trying to do. Are there anybody knows anything about Uncage? Okay, so I'm doing very different stuff now. I'm gonna get to that, but and also awesome that some of you know about it. So, but really, in fact, I'm really doing the same thing. It's always about telling a story that inspires people. So as an athlete, I was telling the story of myself being a doubter, going vegan, and then, you know, what happened afterwards. And now I'm telling other stories. So before we get to that, these are just a little bit like a few more pictures of me. So as you can see, I was born to do strange things. That joke is going to come across in the next one. Just look at what I'm playing with. So this is me playing with cars very early on in my life. And this is me playing with cars in the game changers. It's the same thing. It's the same thing, just the cars got bigger and my belly got bigger too. So I could use it to kind of, you know, to push the cars over. Yeah, so strange things for life. What do we have more? Yeah, so this is the important part. So I'm not only doing strange things, but I also love animals. And that was really always the motivation, right? So that was the motivation for me to go vegetarian. That was the motivation when I realized I could be a better role model by going vegan, to go vegan. And that is really what drives me up to this day. Like, still, everything that I do, all of my work just really circles around the fact, how can I change the world in a way where I can inspire people to become more compassionate, and how can I make the world a kinder place for animals? That is really what I care about. Thank you. Thank you. We don't have time for that. Guys, just don't have time. Okay, so what do I mean when I say creative activism? So I told you about the strength sports and Strongman and everything. I did my last competition back in 2016, so it's like 7 years, more than 7 years, almost 8 years. So that was the World Championship in log lift, and I'm not going to show you the video how it ended up, because I tore my tricep on the second attempt, and that finished my career and also the competition for me. But it was fine because I was planning to transition into a different form of activism anyways, so it wasn't that much of a deal. I had to have surgery and take some time off, and as you can see now, I'm fine again. But really, when I stopped competing, I started thinking about what would be the next platform for me to use for activism, because obviously when I'm not an athlete anymore, I need something else to tell my stories with. So I was trying to come up with a movie idea or something, because I felt like I wanted to make a movie. The reason it's going to come up later, because I think storytelling is really the most powerful way that we can really get information and get behavior change, basically. The most powerful vehicle to cause behavior change and inspire people. I feel like stories are much more powerful than, for instance, if you have a documentary and you just have pure information. The story is always going to be more powerful. So I wanted to tell a good story that is inspiring. And I came up with this superhero story. So I was trying to create an animal rights superhero. And this is what came out of it. So this is Earthraiser. I wanted to make a movie, but then I realized that takes a lot of money. And I never made a movie, so nobody's going to give me that money. So I thought, well, what's a different way to tell the story? And because I've been growing up with comic books, and I was inspired by a lot of comic books. I grew up with the X-Men comics because growing up in Germany as a migrant child, I could really relate to the reality that mutants in the X-Men comics go through, because they get a lot of hate from the human society, basically, and I felt like that sometimes as a migrant. So and what's also funny is I started training very early on, so I also knew what it means if normal people, like the mainstream of the culture you're growing up in, if they're actually afraid of you. Because not only was I visibly, clearly not of German origin, but I was also pretty, I started training when I was 14 years old. So when I was 17, I was scary. I didn't look like a typical 17-year-old. So I would get a lot of hate, but I would also get a lot of fear from people. And with the mutants in the X-Men comics, it's the exact same way, because they're very powerful. So people are afraid, and people, hate them. So that's what. So I have what I'm trying to say is I have a very, very personal connection to comic books. So I thought, well, if I can't make a movie, then I'm going to just make a comic book. And then I did it in 2020, which I don't know if you know, but there was this weird disease starting with C and ending with 19. And when that came, I was basically caught in my office at home. And I'm like, I already had a home office, so nothing changed for me other than that I couldn't travel anymore, because obviously what I was doing before that was mainly what I'm doing right now. Traveling the world, being on stage, trying to speak about the message that I'm trying to get across, and that was gone from one day to the other. So now I was caught at home, and I was thinking, what am I going to use as a means to inspire people? So that's when I sat down. I surrounded myself with some really talented people, because obviously I don't have the talent to draw the comic, but I felt like I had the talent to write it. So I wrote the story, and then we made a comic book, and that was that. So that was basically really the beginning of me trying to use storytelling all the different facets that it has to as my new platform to to tell that story and to inspire people to be more compassionate. Now, I'm not going to talk that much about the comic book. If anybody is interested, I have a few copies with me, and right when we're done here, we're going to go over. I'm definitely going to go over to Moo to You, which is like right over there. And I'm going to do a meet and greet. So everybody who wants to check out the comic book, who wants to take photos, yeah. So we're going to do all the selfies, and you're going to also. We're not doing a Q&A because obviously we don't have time for that. So instead, you can just come over and we can we can talk and do all the shenanigans over there. So that's what we do later on. So now the question is. Before I went vegan, one of my biggest problems that was holding me back was I was a strongman. I was competing internationally, and I was pretty successful on the national level, and not doing that badly on an international level as well. So when I wanted to go vegan, my problem was there was nobody out there who had done it before I did it. So there was no vegan strongman. Like there were a few vegan strength athletes that were trying to actually influence me. Problem was I was just stronger than all of them. So it was really hard. And it's the strength sports community is kind of, they're gonna hate me for saying that, but they're kind of stupid when it comes to taking advice. Whoever has the bigger arm, whoever has the bigger bicep, kind of has to know it better. So I just didn't believe them. Because I was stupid. So the problem was really, I didn't have a role model. I didn't have somebody who, like a template of somebody who had already done it. There was no power lifter that was really successful. There was no strongman and nobody that I knew. There were a few bodybuilders, but that was it. So the question that I was getting a lot when I did it then eventually was, why? Like, everybody before, when people think of strength athletes, they were like, yeah, these are the guys who like eat half a pig every day. Like that's the cliche that they had, and they were like, yeah, why would you even do it? And I think a big part of the vegan community was also thinking like, what is this guy about? Like, why? So that's the question. Why did I do it? And this is really so this is the situation that I had. This is basically the number of strength athletes or strongmen doing it, and now I'm going to show you why I did it and why I think it was great that I did it, because the situation kind of changed, and today we have thousands of strength athletes doing it in all kinds of different sports. The last thing that I was contacted about was there is this community calling themselves Plant Built. And they go to strength competitions together as a team, basically as a vegan team, almost like a national team, but they're just the vegans. And this year was the first time that they actually had, this is 12 years after I went vegan, they had a strongman team. They had a dedicated strongman team, all vegan, and they went to the competitions together, cheering each other on. So that's really, that was really what I was trying to achieve. Because when I realized that it was, I was so scared of doing it because there was nobody doing it before me. What I realized after doing it and it worked really well, it just kind of became my mission, because I felt like, oh, this was so scary, but it was stupid because it was way easier than I thought. And I just realized I could have done it way earlier. So I thought, why am I not the person who makes it easier for the next person? And that's really, so this is what I was trying to accomplish, and it worked. So I'm happy. Thank you. We don't have time for that. We don't have time for that. So now let's get to the question. And I haven't even told you anything about Uncage. So I'm going to do that now. So Uncage, it's going to be, in the way that I'm doing it, it's going to be pretty unique as an animal rights video game. So that's what I'm trying to do. So, thank you. And I bet at least like 70% of you are going to think, why the hell do we need an animal rights video game? And I'm going to tell you. So that's why I did the Strength Athlete thing before, because the idea here is very similar. So I have been growing up with comics, as I told you, but I have been also growing up with video games. So like I'm not the youngest person. I don't know if you can tell. Like I have a lot of gray beard here, so that probably gives it away. I'm 44. So I grew up, actually the first video game that I played. Who of you has ever heard of Pong? Yeah, so Pong is still a thing. Awesome. So that was my first video game, and that was, I think, really one of the first video games at all, like that existed for a home console. Because before that, video games were just an arcade thing, and then at some point they started becoming a home console thing. And that was, I think Atari was the ones who did the first Pong home video game. And it was the first game that I ever played. And then I basically grew up with huge jumps of technological progress with video games, and I was always fascinated by that progress, from getting from 2 sticks and 1 dot, which was Pong, to a world where today we can immerse ourselves with virtual reality, basically completely into the virtual world. So that was always fascinating for me. But what really pissed me off all the time was that, so the first thing, at least after going vegan, what pisses me off is that there is a huge number of games that are solely made around the concept of killing animals. So there's like hundreds of hunting games. There are hundreds of even fishing games. Like I don't understand how fishing can be something that is like interesting to simulate in a video game, but they exist. They exist. You know what does I mean, I was told differently. So there are actually, it's not that there are no animal rights video games, and this is, so the amount of video games, they exist. I was told that because last time when I spoke in the UK, I had told everybody they don't exist, and somebody contacted me who has actually made an animal rights video game 20 years ago. So he said, well, you know, I kind of made one. I made the remake this year, and the original was done 20 years ago. And when I did it 20 years ago, now this is the cool part, it was still not the first one. So there was basically the first one that he knows is called Deer Avenger. So it's basically a deer who shoots hunters. So if you want to check it out, it sounds fun. It's still a hunting game, but you know, with a spin, I would say. Hunting game with a spin. And then the guy who contacted me, his name is Jonathan Skinner, and his game is called Steer Madness, and it's an anthropomorphic cow who just goes around the city, and it looks a lot, to me at least, like the Simpsons hit and run game from the 90s. So it is more like a very both of those games are so they exist two games. This is at least 2 that I now know about. So, and these are both very casual games. So the idea, I think, is more to have something casual to play for, you know, for vegans. But with Uncage, my idea is really that I'm still trying to, my target audience has always been the non-vegans, and that is still the case. Because obviously, the idea with Uncage is it's going to be fun for vegans as well, because it is about freeing animals. It's about saving animals. So it's going to be fun for the vegans, of course. But really what I'm trying to reach is all the kids out there who are, you know, growing up in a non-vegan family, and who could be the one who veganizes the whole family. Because I actually know a lot of kids who have been the first vegans in the family, and who have, like, the first one that I met was, his name was Robin, and that's like almost like a decade ago. And he was 8, and then at some point he just started crying when they would eat meat. So his mom just gave in, and she became vegetarian and then vegan. And then his dad was basically the only one who was still eating meat in the family. And then I influenced his dad to then also go vegan, and that's how I got kind of friends with the family. So that was the first case, but then I met a lot of kids who did the same thing. So the idea with Uncage is really to have something that is kids friendly, and so we can basically use the kids as our mules. That's just okay, so what is Uncage then? What's the problem? Yeah, so the problem really is, I skipped a few parts of the other one. So the problem that I think exists is that we have a lot of really great documentaries out there. You know, obviously, I was in one of the bigger ones, the Game Changers, and I know the impact that those documentaries have. It's huge. Like the Game Changers had a huge impact. A lot of people actually, like, who has gone vegan because of the Game Changers? Here we go. Yeah, represent. So this is awesome, right? So they have their impact. So it's great that they exist. But the point is that video games, if you just look at the market, right? I'm not going to read this stuff. This is just numbers. But it comes down to, in short, the market of documentaries and TV, like the whole market of documentaries and everything TV. If you compare that to the market of just video games, nothing else, video games are 21 times bigger. So the audience that you can reach with video games is like orders of magnitude bigger than what you can reach with documentaries. So imagine if you could do something that was as powerful as the Game Changers, but we could do that in games. That would already reach like a whole lot more people, and what is more important, it would reach kids, which I think is like, we should really try to reach kids and inspire them because, for obvious reasons, they're the future. So we really want to not forget them. So that is the problem that I have with, not a lot of video games existing. Now the other problem is that if you look at this is basically a continuum of how to effectively basically get across information and cause behavior change. And if you look at that, documentaries would be basically at the beginning of that chain. Docudramas, which I would say the Game Changers is a docudrama because it tells the stories of the individuals that are portrayed in the documentary. So it is kind of almost like a story. It's almost like a dramatized version of a documentary, which is more effective. Obviously it was very effective, right? And I think the reason that it was effective was because the individuals in the documentary are basically waved into an overarching story. So that's already more powerful. But what's even more powerful is actual storytelling, like linear storytelling in terms of movies and books and novels and stuff like that. That is even more powerful when it comes to, and this is really just based on the way that we have been, getting across information from generation to generation, from group to group, for millennia, for thousands of years. We have been doing that by myths and by legends. And that's why our brains are really hardwired to have it be way more effective if we want to get information across, to do that with stories. So, but what's the most effective and most powerful way of getting behavior changing stories across? It's interactive story. Because obviously, it's one thing if you have a really good book or a really good movie, you can get the audience to identify with the protagonist, and that way, for instance, if the protagonist is somebody who cares about animals, that would be then making the protagonist a vehicle to get that across to the viewer. But if you have a video game, that's already like, that's where you start. The game doesn't even have to be good because you're gonna, like in a video game, you can just play the animal. Like you could be a male chick that is born into a facility where they just minutes after you get born, or minutes after you you hatch from the egg, they're going to kill you. And you can make basically that is something that you can put together in 5 minutes, and it would be a game about surviving that process. And you would have the player seeing it all through the eyes of that chick. And what I also think is that, let me just get through this. So this is just the science behind it, but let me now get to Uncage, which is the project itself. And before I do that, Is there anybody with, oh yeah, Ruby, can you give those to everybody? So I have a flyer here. I'm going to explain to you what it is about later on. We're going to just give them out, and you can just reach them around so that everybody has a chance to get one. And now I'm going to tell you what all of that is about. The flyer is just so that everybody has the URL and everything if you want to check the project out later on. So, the idea with Uncage is that when I started thinking about making an animal rights video game, I felt like the most powerful tool that we have as a movement to communicate what is wrong in the world and what we want to change is the video footage that undercover animal activists take, right? So those terrible videos that nobody wants to watch because you feel terrible, you know, when you do it. I feel terrible, like even me as a vegan, if I watch those videos, I just really feel powerless because I know that what I'm seeing on screen is, you know, it is very powerful, but it also kind of, you know, it's something that I can't change right away. Like if I see an animal being treated horribly, I know that animal is probably not even alive anymore. So I have no means to help that one animal. So what I felt was, on the one hand, those videos are the most effective and most powerful tool that we could have as a movement. On the other hand, because they make you feel terrible when you watch them, I think those who should watch them are never going to watch them. Like only very few of the actual target group is actually gonna basically take it on them to watch those videos. And I'm not even like, I'm really trying to avoid that because they make me feel really bad. And who else thinks that way? So awesome. So it's a double-edged sword, right? So on the one hand, it is powerful. On the other hand, you don't reach the people you want to reach. So what I thought is, imagine if I could show people the same content, the same thing, but instead of sitting in front of a screen, they would be inside of the story. If I would have an interactive game, I could have the player be in the story as an animal rights activist. So the idea was, why don't I make a game where they play the hero for the animals, basically? And you don't have to write vegan on top of it, because I feel like if there's anything that says vegan on it, on the box, they're probably not going to play it because they're going to think, oh, they want to brainwash me, so I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to get that vegan propaganda. So instead of doing that, you're going to call it something like Uncage Total Liberation, or you can call it like Animal Heroes, or you know, whatever title you want, because it's not going to be about veganism in the first place, but it's going to be about being a hero for the animals. And here's the trick. The trick is 90% of, or maybe even 99% of anybody who's out there would want to be the hero for the animals. Like, you know, when you talk to people, one reason that it is really kind of triggers people and makes them angry when you discuss veganism with them is because they consider themselves animal lovers. So if you would make a video game that is about saving animals, a lot of people who would not want to have that vegan propaganda would still play it because they would like the idea of being a hero for the animals. Now, my idea was that, well, obviously that is going to be a very powerful thing because it's going to be the same power that we have in the video footage, but now it's going to be actually in a way where they can go in, they can actually free the animal, so they're not going to feel terrible. And the greatest thing is, because they are going to be the heroes in the story, it's also not going to shame them. And I think that is really where the power of video games is. It would get the same information across that those videos do, but it would do it in a way where they feel inspired and where they feel empowered to kind of, you know, try to be better in real life. At least that's what I'm trying to aim for. So that is Uncage, in short. Thank you. Thank you so much. Now, the way we do this is, so when I showed you the comic, the Earthraiser comic, the way we did it is we made a Kickstarter for it. And then the idea was, you know, obviously I was sitting at home. I couldn't do any speaking gigs or anything. I couldn't really work. So I didn't have the means to, you know, have all the printing costs and everything and take the risk. So what I did is I just started a Kickstarter, and we just financed everything beforehand, and then we published the comic book a few months later. And that is exactly what I'm trying to do with Uncage as well, because obviously, the reason that these games don't exist yet is because it takes a lot of resources to make them. So what I have done is, I had the idea of the animal rights video game 2 years ago. I don't know if you see, but I'm a little bit out of shape. The reason I'm out of shape is because the last 2 years, I have almost not trained at all. Because I'm sitting at my desk and working on this thing, and until May this year I've been doing it just on my own, basically as a solo dev, trying to make this thing happen, because I know the industry is not going to do it. The industry is going to just bring out the next hunting game and the next fishing game and all that stuff, because they know they did it before and it worked, and they know that they can make money out of it. They don't know that about this. And because nobody has done it before, or at least not in this way, obviously, the other two games that exist are just casual games, and this is way more serious in the way that it treats the topic. So because it has not been done before, we have to show them that it actually works. So I started the Kickstarter last weekend, and it really started off really, really nicely, and it was, going quite well. So the weekend was really good. We had like, it went almost up to 100 in the first 2 days. But then when the week started, in the beginning of the week, it really came to a screeching halt. So we're just around 140 something backers of the campaign right now. But here's the deal. I'm going to show you a little bit of the game, and I'm going to even show you a trailer. And then if you decide that it is convincing, here's what I want you to do. And I'm going to make a deal with you. So the deal is, if we can get the number of backers to double after today, and the cool thing is, you can just basically put $1 in. Like you don't have to put any big amount or anything in. What we need is, we need to show the industry that there are people out there who support something like this. So it's not about the money that we get, it's really about getting the contributions, like the number of individuals who get behind the project. That number has to go up. So it doesn't matter how much you put into the campaign, it only matters that the number of supporters goes up. If we get that to double after the day today, I'm going to give away under everybody who comes in basically as a supporter today, and it doesn't matter how much, it can be just $1, I'm going to give away one NPC cameo. So I'm going to basically, randomly look and find one of the individuals that came in today, and they're going to get digitalized, and they're going to be in the game as a non-playable character. So, yeah! No. So is that a deal you can, you can get behind? But before we do it, I have to convince you, right? I don't want the support without earning it. So I have some pictures with me. We're gonna go through them real quick. There's some gameplay stuff and there's some trailer stuff, and then in the end, I'm gonna also show you a trailer of the whole thing. Does that sound like a good idea? Awesome. And then if you like it, the flyers that we gave out, they basically have all the information you need to get on the campaign site. There's a QR code on it, and there's also a link on it, so it's also pretty easy to remember. It's uncagegame.com. So, the game's name is Uncage. So let's go through the pictures. So this is from a concept trailer that we put out there a few months ago. And what you see, basically the meerkat that is sitting so cutely there, that meerkat's name is Miles, and it's the title character basically of the whole thing. And the cool thing in Uncage is also that you play the activist, so this is also from the concept trailer, you play the activist, and this is one of the game mechanics is that the games want you to go in and do what activists do, which is document the terrible stuff that is happening in there. And you're going to take video footage, and the cool thing is that we're going to also use this mechanic to make the whole thing a little bit more viral, because what you're going to do is you're going to take footage within the game, and then you can expose basically what's happening there to the world. From in-game, you're going to have a share button, and then you can basically share what you expose to your social media accounts. So that's, and then our hope, of course, is that that's going to a little bit snowball the whole thing and get the word out to people that there is this game where you play activists who go and try to help animals. Now, one mechanic is the camera mechanic, so you go in and you do the activist work. But if you want, you can also, obviously you don't want to get caught. This is also an important fact. There is no, obviously it's meant to be kids friendly, so we don't want human-to-human violence. We don't want to, inspire any violence in there. And obviously, if you, as an activist, go in trespass in whatever facility you go in, you're not taking any weapons with you or anything. So what's going to happen is you're going to get attacked by, we have a demo level, that is what you see here, and it is a fur farm where you're going to free foxes that are in that fur farm. But you don't have any weapons, but you're going to get attacked with weapons. So you have to be stealthy. So it is basically stealth gameplay. It's stealth gameplay, we have the camera mechanic, and we have this tension where it is about your job is not to go in there and free any animals, because the activists really, that's not the main thing that they do. Obviously that is the emotional thing that you would want to do, and that is why the game gives you the freedom to do it. If you want to free an animal, you can totally do that. But if you free an animal, you take the full responsibility of what happens to that animal from the second you free it, which I think is kind of a good idea, because in real life that would be also the case. If any damage happens to the animal, if it gets hurt or anything, you're going to get that same result basically. If the animal dies, you die. So that is basically the liberation mechanic that gives you the freedom to free animals, but then makes everything a little bit harder, and you have to then make sure that the animal gets out of the facility safe and sound. And the trailer is going to be exactly about that tension. So the trailer we're going to watch in a few seconds. It's about two activists. One of them is in the facility, the other one is outside and leading the one that is inside from outside, basically through the facility. And they're going to have kind of like an argument, because the guy that is, it's this guy. This is from the trailer, by the way. So this guy wants to really free one of the meerkats. But then the other activist outside is telling him that that's not a good idea, because the job is to go in and plant the cameras. And he's going to jeopardize everything if you freeze one of the animals, and then they get basically, they get exposed for what they're trying to do. And you're going to see how it all turns out. So this is also from the concept trailer. This is a character from, and this is really to show that with Uncage, I'm aiming to make a game that is about all different kinds of animal exploitation. So this is basically a scenery out of a zoo, and the idea is that this is one of the main characters, Omid the orangutan. I was, with the names, I try to always kind of be as international as possible. So we have like a Chinese name, and we have Omid is a Persian name. Do we have any Persians here? Awesome. I'm born in Iran, that's why I'm asking. So I'm a little bit all over the place, by the way. I'm ethnically Armenian, born in Iran, and I grew up in Germany, so like, whatever. It's really about all different kinds of exploitation. So it's going to start in a fur farm, and the idea strategically is that the game is going to start with stuff that is very, where there's consensus, right? Where a fur farm is something that a lot of non-vegans would also get behind and say, oh, that's fucked up. Why do we do that? Oh, sorry, we have kids here, right? So, I'm sorry. Excuse me. Excuse the language. I was talking about foxes. The cute ones. So, it's foxed up, basically. I'm making it worse, am I? But then gradually, the idea is to get a foot into the door with having a fur farm, having vivisection lab, having stuff like that. But then eventually, later on, it's going to be cows, it's going to be pigs, it's going to be animal agriculture. And the idea is obviously to get them into the mindset of an activist, to basically get them into that mindset, and then gradually get them closer and closer to the hard truth that makes them realize that they could actually do better in real life. That's the idea. So this is a zoo. We're going to also have a circus. So if you free an animal, full responsibility goes on you. This is activist running out with Miles the meerkat, which obviously shows you that he won the argument. so that's that. Now this is the cool part about the game, because I was thinking, well, I have these animal characters there. By the way, they're gonna speak, which is cool because I have a lot of like really cool friends. So I know a lot of great musicians, little rock stars, and I don't know, some of you probably know what I'm talking about, but we can talk about it later on. So I have a whole bunch of famous friends that I have, and they're also vegan, and I'm gonna just drop some names, right? So anybody knows anybody into metal here? So Sepultura tells you anything? Yeah, so Derek Green is going to voice Atlas the Lion. Then I have German hip-hop legend Moses Pelham. He's pretty famous in Germany. Okay, we have some Moses Pelham fans here as well. So he's going to be Babo the Beaver. There is already footage out there from Tanya O'Callaghan. Any Tanya fans here? So she's a vegan. She never ate meat in her whole life, and she's vegan for a very long time. And she's a bass player and plays in different rock bands. And she's gonna voice Fionnuala the Vixen. So she's gonna be a fox, a female one. And so the idea was, okay, so you have these animals, they speak and all that. That's great and nice. Wouldn't it be cool to actually play the animals? Because, as I said, the most powerful way to give them, to give the player the perspective of the animal is actually to let them play the animal and see everything from their perspective. That is uniquely something that only a game like this could actually do. And there's nothing out there that does it right now. So that is exactly what you're going to get. If you free an animal, that animal becomes available in the next mission as a playable character. So you can switch to that animal, and every animal has their own talents and skills and things that they can do that a human cannot do. So that way you get kind of the progression in the game is basically that you gather more and more animals and get more and more different options to play the game. And here this is like fox gameplay. Then we have, this is again the fox character. So the fox character, for instance, has a mechanic that she can basically go out there and talk to the other foxes and rally them so that they can get out of the facility. So her job is going to be to assemble all the other animals and round them up and get them out of the facility so that they can be free. And this is Miles talking to the foxes and trying to convince them to come with him, because it's going to be a little bit of an argument, because the foxes are going to say, oh, humans, that's the species that kills us. And then Miles is going to explain to them that other humans who are not like that are here to free them. I'm talking too much. So this is more Miles gameplay. This is the actual game mechanic where you break basically chains to open the cages. So this is the title mechanic of Uncage. This is an uncaging mechanic. This is just a little bit more activist gameplay. This is real gameplay, by the way. This is not not a trailer or anything. This is how the game right now looks. And this is more activist gameplay. And this is the URL. So uncagegame.com. And with that, thank you, but we don't have time for that. Because now I want to show you the trailer. And then when you saw the trailer, please, if you really like what you see here and you want to get behind it, just go on, basically if you go on the URL here, uncagegame.com, it takes you to the campaign. You can just contribute just $1 or whatever you want. Obviously if you contribute a little bit more, you can actually get your hands on the game itself. There's with 10 euros you get a demo and so on, but you can all check all of that out. That's not important. The important thing is that we doubled the amount of supporters that we have. So if we get it from 140 to 280, there's going to be, one of you is going to be the lucky winner of the NPC thing. And with that, I would say, if we can run the trailer with a lot of volume, please let's do that.
Ultimately, the animal ship is somewhere down the corridor. Campus camera take it past that.
One more security gate and we are in.
We can't just leave these nakeds here. Look at them.
You know the mission. Just plant the cameras.
Now that I'm here, it doesn't seem like enough.
Focus, eh? If the lab catches on, they'll find the cameras and would compromise the entire mission.
But if we just won, are we Earth Raisers or not?
Being an Earth Raiser means thinking strategically and playing the long game. When the public sees what's going on in the lab, they'll be outraged. The authorities will have no choice but to shut it down.
It could take years. This new kid deserves a life without pain. Now,
We can save hundreds of lives, maybe thousands.
this guy, I will call him Miles, deserves his freedom. I hope you understand.
I don't, but I understand your conviction. Look, if anything goes wrong, this is on you.
One day, no animal will ever suffer like this again. Hang in there, Miles. We'll be home in no time. And my friend, can get that damn thing out of your head.
Mark the journalist for November the 17th, the day our Kickstarter launches. With your support, Uncage will become a true game changer, fostering compassion instead of violence for the next generation of animal heroes. Let's embark on this journey together and uncage the world.
Are you convinced? Yeah! That's what I was hoping for. So, if you like it, just go and support it. If we can double the number of supporters within the next 24 hours or within this day, then I'm gonna make it happen, and we're gonna get one of you inside the game. Thank you so much. If you want to come, now you can do it. That was it. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much. Love you. Listen. Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Listen, take all that energy and come over and let's do the meet and greet right over there. And then if you find some time in between, go and support the campaign. Thank you so much. See you in a bit.
This is for you. Okay, see you in a second. I'm going to be over there in just 2 minutes.